Echo Fox, 100 Thieves, right? Those were four teams near the top of the ladder, so we were looking to steal a win, and we did. So, today's a great day.
Well, I'm joined right now by Hunter Lee from the Golden Guardians with, it's the second day of week 4, and you guys have actually won a match. Yeah, best day of week 4, with coverage presented by OmniSlash. Before we get into the interview, I'd just like to preface this by saying Hunter and I are very close about Michelle because, we're friends. All that being said, so you guys won your first game. Congratulations.
Thank you.
What has it been like behind the scenes? Because literally 7 losses in a row to start off the LCS, then you get this one.
It's exactly how we drew it up at the start of the season. I think we went into the split expecting that it would be a tough split. Like, I think while I thought we were better than maybe people had us on paper or put together, and our sort of slow growth, long-term planning was going to take some time. I think we expected to see improvement. We saw improvement from week 1 to week 2. We threw both those games, but they were much, much better. Week 3 on paper was always going to be a tough week, and we were really looking like coming into week 3 and week 4 saying, let's steal a win somewhere, right? TSM, TL, Echo Fox, 100 Thieves, right? Those were 4 teams near the top of the ladder, so we were looking to steal a win, and we did. So, today's a great day.
Yeah. Very good. Well, we never had we did an interview, the roster, and I think with all the losses in the beginning, there were a lot of people that were very much questioning the idea behind the roster. I felt like you guys had just picked up a lot of players who were never necessarily the best in their role.
Right.
And so now might be a good time to just kind of address what the philosophy was behind all this stuff.
Yeah, so plan for how we were going to execute. Like, we had a kind of a bunch of different models. Honestly, the feeding frenzy of this offseason with like 43 of the 50 positions, moving over, and the money that some of the teams were throwing around, I think it caught everybody off guard, including the people throwing the money around, like how much they would have to. And so we settled on, and consistent with our broader, like, holistic approach, which is development oriented. And that's with High, like, pulling up our average significantly, right? Like, Contracts is 18, Lolo's 19, Matt and definitely are 20. Like, there's a lot of improvement left, even on the guys who have been in the league for a while. And we thought, we would be able to put those sort of high ceiling, high character players in position to succeed and get the best out of them, and that wouldn't happen overnight. But that we think with the right environment and good coaching and other things, we would end up. Maybe not this split, maybe next split, maybe next year, with a really strong team.
Yeah. How confident are you in your ability to retain the talent? Because and people are really beholden to contracts. And the LCS, it feels like anytime a player wants to leave, that ends up happening. And also contracts tend to be, I think, a little shorter, oftentimes just 1 year. So, if somebody has a breakout year, suddenly they might be worth a lot more.
Yeah. So a lot of some of this data is public, and people can go look, at the global contract database and see. I think before, where you would see a lot of 1-year deals and sometimes even shorter, most players at this point are signed to multi-year deals. Our retention plan, it's not rocket science, right? Like, of course, people want to play on winners, and we have an intention to be a winner also. But we want to make sure we're a culture where stars can shine and people can really be themselves and be happy. And we think that'll help us retain our top talent, but also recruit talent when the time comes, for inevitable roster changes, of which there will always be some at some point. But it's definitely true that, like, structurally or institutionally, there isn't bird rights or no trade clauses or other things that would sort of lock a player to your team. If you want somebody to stay, you have to, like, earn that loyalty. As an organization, as a team, you have to kind of earn that loyalty. And we have every intention of investing in our players and asking them to invest back in us and sort of go on this ride with us.
Yeah. All right, so some tougher questions, starting with the coaching stuff. How much can you say about Locodoco's departure? Because I think a lot of people were somewhat blindsided by it and the other reports that came out. So what can you say?
Basically nothing. Quickly sometimes, and I think one thing I am really happy, Tyler had shown a lot of promise internally before then as Loco's kind of main assistant coach, and we had already been talking about how do we keep him when other teams start looking for their next head coach? Because I think he's going to shine in our system, and people will look to scoop him away. And it just happens that the next team looking for a head coach was us, and here he is. So, I think. We have a lot of great systems in place. Loco helped put a lot of great systems in place for the players, for development, communication style, other things. Tyler's continuing a lot of that, and I think we're really optimistic about his future here with us also.
Yeah. On the topic of Tyler, how is there a decision to make him to have him continue to be the main coach, or is there any chance that you guys will pick up anybody else as the head coach for the rest of the split?
Yeah, it's a great question. He's also asking that question. Okay. It's totally fair. I think the truth is we want to see how things go. It's hard after a day like today to think that anything would change. Yeah. And we went into kind of naming him. Thinking, okay, we're going to give him a real shot in this position and see what's there. We believe in him, and we're going to be a development-oriented organization in general, and focusing on high-ceiling people at all kinds of positions, whether that's on the field or off elsewhere in staffing. And we think he can be that kind of coach, and so we'll let it play out. At this point, I don't anticipate making any changes this split at all, and next split right now just feels a long way away.
Now, as we film this, along with Saint mentioning that he'd reached out to try to help, and had been scorned, I think. Perhaps, shoulder. Yeah, cold shoulder.
Cold shoulder, yeah.
And I think we saw former caster, owner, and coach Monte Cristo mention that specifically, Saint and Cop should come in and help out the teams. These guys have experience with Dignitas. So why not bring in two guys that have experience, even if not in the head coach role, to just kind of help bring extra experience? And if you guys are a development-oriented org, it feels like finding coaches that have had success in the past and adding them to the roster fits that.
Yeah, and I'm not ruling that out. What I told Saint when he reached out was like, hey, it's been an eventful week, and we just want to catch our breath. And that I think I told him that Saturday, and he reached out Tuesday, and I was going to write back on Thursday, but between Tuesday and Thursday, he was on a stream and whatever. So that, we just ended up not connecting, I think, as quickly as he wanted. I think we want Tyler is going to help make this decision. When he looks at the system and his sort of coaching team and what he wants to add in and what kind of voices we need. But I really do think he should get a shot at this. And we believe in him. I think it's easy to dismiss someone that you've never seen play before as sort of inherently bad. But I actually think Tyler's going to be a really great coach. And that is not a knock against anybody else that's interested in this. One way or the other. We really had an intention of giving Tyler a chance and catching our breath and seeing what the world looked like on the other side of an unexpected move before we kind of rush to patch up, fix something that might not be broken after all. And, a win today, takes some of the pressure off.
But I guess it is fair to say that it does feel like you are taking a lot of risk, right? So you took a risk on the roster where you're getting a lot of these rookies that are long-term plays. You got High, who has had a lot of experience in the past, but maybe isn't coming off of his best split last year. And now you have a situation where you're taking a risk on another coach, right? Where you're giving this guy a chance. So you're giving so many chances to everyone. Are you okay if all this stuff doesn't pan out and maybe you guys don't even win another game the rest of the split?
I mean, am I okay? I'm not happy, but I think we're okay. I mean, as an organization, I think one of the options going into this offseason, just generally speaking, floor, low ceiling, you're kind of calibrating your experience and risk tolerance around some of those factors, right? Like how bad are you willing to let it get in exchange for some kind of upside down the road? And we definitely want to make sure that we're never sacrificing the future, to kind of salvage the present, especially in a world of kind of overpaying for mediocrity or sort of sacrificing for mediocrity. And I think one thing that bugged me a little about the FlyQuest comparisons when people saw our initial roster is just how different those scenarios were. High had played with 4 of those players in that spring split. He plus 3 for a whole split before then, and that really was, in my opinion, like a high floor, low ceiling team. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially for an org like getting straight in a relegation system. having a high floor, low ceiling team to get pulled up maybe and given chances. It's good for orgs to be able to experiment. And we definitely wanted to make sure that we sort of had high ceiling as a future for this team all the way along, even if that came in the short run with sort of a low. But we think we're on the upswing to what the potential for all of this can be.
Yeah. And finally, to kind of close out the more, oh, it's Aframu. He's got cookies. To kind of close out the more unfortunate part of this interview, I think that LCS throughout the past several years has created this culture and opinion that if you see a team struggling dramatically, that it's a team that fans should not follow, mostly because frequently that means that they're out of the league, right? Or that you'll see them sell to another owner in the future. So it's hard for fans to invest in that. I've had people that have said, even on my show, like, Golden Guardians is a trash org. They should have done this differently. They should have done that. Or this team is useless or whatever. So the people out there who are sort of making these assessments and judgments about your organization.
Those people at all? I mean, I think I'd rather talk to the other side, maybe people who haven't made up their mind or understand, like, to the hipster league fan on board. Hopefully you don't have much longer to say that you were here in the beginning. And to the other folks, I mean, I think, like, look, we're not even halfway in the season. The first split of all of this, like, just calm down. We're a game behind Optic, right? Like, we're 2 games behind FlyQuest and Clutch. Like, there's a long way to go even in this split, let alone like this season, let alone like the years that we all expect LCS, the league, to have teams be able to lose, you know, and lose and try and fail and try again and come back and surface up. I think if you want to root for frontrunners, there are teams to do that. And if you want to root for underdogs, jump on board.
Yeah. Very good. Anything at the end that you would say in any circumstance to the fans, or anything, you know, that we can look forward to with the team?
Yeah. So I think, you know, shameless plug for our stuff. Rachel, our social media person, who you've embarrassed by putting on camera from time to time, she had a great idea of the Dude 963. You are maybe our biggest and worst fan, and we appreciate all of the negative yet somehow still accurate criticism that we receive from you and anyone else out there. It is, you know, like, it has been a fun ride. There's so many Warriors people watching the games, texting me, asking me what's at the end of every draft. I get a text from at least 2 people at the Warriors, like, was this good? Are we happy? And I'm always like, yes, because yes, you know, like, I think Island was awesome. It's been a hell of a ride.
Thank you so much for the interview, Hunter. Really appreciate it. For everyone else, you can check out the rest of my coverage of all things esports right here on my YouTube channel. I know you wanted the Ovly outro, and instead you're getting this one. But guess what? If you subscribe, not only will you get more LCS interviews brought to you by OmniSlash, but you also might